The governor recently signed a law that requires student athletes to be pulled from games immediately if they suffer a possible head injury in the game, and they can't play again until a doctor clears them. It's a step to protect young athletes from concussion, brain damage, and even possibly death. Dr. Lloyd Zucker of Boca Raton Regional Hospital joins us to explain the dangers and the medical dangers of a bump on the head. Doctor, thank you so much for joining us.
Good morning.
Very interested in this because I actually had a concussion during high school football, so times have changed now, and this is a big step toward it. But first, let's talk about what a concussion is and what can cause a concussion.
Any blow to the head can cause a concussion. And when you and I look at it or hear it discussed, it's a transient disorder of the brain's ability to function. Whether that's just a little bit of confusion, whether that's some nausea, there's a broad spectrum in terms of the severity. For a long time, it was thought if there wasn't a loss of consciousness, there wasn't a concussion. I think we've learned and things have become more evident that that's not really quite true.
I know to some the answer might be obvious, or maybe it's not. What sports really lend themselves to a higher rate of concussion?
Well, certainly sports that are, I guess, more gladiatorial. We've both played football.
Sure.
Football is certainly going to be one of them. But soccer, with heading the ball, can be that. Some of the single-player sports, the track sports or the tennis sports are usually not as common, but anything can expose an athlete.
And why is it so important to diagnose a concussion in a young athlete versus an older athlete? Like, say, we've seen it in the NFL. It's a really big topic now, but now with the younger athletes.
I think that we believed, and our athletes did as well, that maybe the younger athletes weren't as susceptible to what's going on, but we've seen some cases, some very unfortunate cases, where younger athletes have been significantly injured long-term by not paying attention to the very same rules that our star athletes are now looked at with.
Sure, and they can cause permanent damage. Can you kind of explain that if a concussion isn't treated properly, or if someone isn't taken out of a game when they should be or sent home?
I think there are really two issues there. One is a chronic issue where you have repetitive concussions, and I think what we're understanding now is that there certainly is an effect of repetitive concussions. There is an acute problem where if an athlete is let back in and exposed to, I guess what you and I would call that second concussion too quickly, it's not frequent, but there can be devastating consequences with brain swelling and even death.
As a doctor, how important is a law like this getting signed and measures being taken place to take an athlete out of the game and really get diagnosed properly?
The law is essential, but what the law creates is awareness. It creates a level of responsibility for coaches and trainers, whether it is a junior high, college, or professional athlete, to make sure that that emotional drive that you and I felt on the football field to get right back in and do what we have to do isn't the motivator in sending somebody back in too early.
When it comes to sports, better be safe than sorry, right,
No
Doctor?
question.
Thank you very much for joining us. And Boca Raton Regional Hospital sponsors our expert and underwrites our Ask the Doctor segment.